There we go. All right, now we're cooking with gas. I had originally wanted this to auto launch. There we go. Seems to be holding up okay. How do you feel about the Lions FA moves so far? How's everybody doing this morning? Is everyone doing great? Everyone doing awesome? Everyone doing great? Love it. Need more out of Brad. All right. Oh, I could have changed it right there. Gotcha. Appreciate you hanging out with me while I fart around here, guys. Love it. Give me more. Let's get this poll up. Bam. All right. How's everybody doing this morning? Hopefully everyone's hanging in there, doing just goody gumdrops. We got some news coming out of Detroit. Little free agent signing that we had pop off, which can't be mad about that. It kind of tips the hat there as to what we're going to do in the draft. But anyway, welcome to the Hat and Beard Show. This is Wednesday morning, March 12th. It is about 10 in the morning here. We have a sunny but deceivingly cool little crispness to the air here in mid-Michigan. Hopefully you guys are doing great. I am your hostess with the mostest, Hat and Beard, here running the Hat and Beard Show for you. We're running things a little bit differently than we have been in times past. You might have seen videos pop up here or there of myself, some shorts content that I used to make. But we are going to try and branch out into more of a live streaming daily morning show to just kind of maximize both my time, your time, and I feel like it's a little bit more genuine here what we've been able to do, what we're still trying to accomplish here. It's the first week of really doing a live show. Today will be our final show of the week, as there are still some kinks here on my end that we need to work out, some edges that needed to be smoothed down a little bit here, and as well as I want to make some sliders, some things like that. Sorry, I just want to make sure that things on my end are good here. Sorry about this, fellas. It's a goofy. And like I said, I need to streamline some things, smooth some things out, round some corners down, kind of polish down the rough edges. What we'd like to do is develop some sliders here. I need to figure out how to have the chat more, the delay gone, so that I can engage actively with you guys as the messages are coming in. And as well as I'd like to be able to have some sliders in between our segments here. As you guys know, we do a little bit of everything now here. We did start out originally as a Detroit Lions content creator, and now we're kind of branching out more into the expansive 32-team NFL content pool. So if you're new here, what's up? Thanks. I appreciate you clicking on the thumbnail and giving us a try here. If you enjoy the content that we make here, why don't you feel like sticking around for a little bit? And if it's kind of your thing, go ahead and smash like on the video. Share this video around with all your friends. It would really help us grow if everybody were to just simply copy and paste the link to the video. You don't even have to really share with anybody. Just click share, copy to clipboard. It would help us grow exponentially so that in a year's time we could be starting to make bigger strides, move forward in our crusade to take over the morning, I guess, podcast sports talk sphere. I don't really know how to describe it. My elevator pitch for this show isn't necessarily the best. And then, of course, if you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that you never miss out on any content. All right, now that is out of the way, the nonsense, the tomfoolery, let's start talking about the things you guys came here for. You guys know we like to start with a little national news segment here, so we're going to go ahead and walk ourselves on over to Yahoo Sports. 2025 NFL free agency tracker, rumors, trades, offseason updates, and Aaron Rodgers among players still available. It's crazy to think that we are in a time now where Aaron Rodgers, a former league MVP, Super Bowl winning quarterback, more than likely going to go into the NFL Hall of Fame, is not a highly coveted target, free agent target. And, we've seen this happen over the years. It's time comes for all of us. And unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers had that gruesome Achilles rupture, 3 snaps into his New York Jets career, and then subsequently did the thing that I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with what he was saying, but just I think athletes need to sometimes keep their opinions to themselves. And just to kind of simplify it, put the fucking fries in the bag, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like Aaron Rodgers, I don't give a shit. You throw ball well. You throw ball real well. I don't care about what you think about your toe or a vaccine. I like, it's cool, I guess in this social media landscape world where everything needs to be clipped and processed for everybody. I guess it's cool for you, bro. How do you do there, fellow kids? You're a little old to be doing that there, buddy. I say as a 37-year-old man on YouTube. But I don't have a Hall of Fame NFL career to fall back onto in generational wealth. I got to do it this way. So I will try and clip myself. It's just crazy that we live in a world where Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson are both just kind of out there in the infinite abyss because nobody really thinks they're worth it anymore. So the top QB is off on the market is off the board, and so are some other big names. The top QB being, of course, who we talked about quite extensively yesterday, Sam Darnold, the re-emergence of his career after taking a couple years to kind of get his bearings fixed in some toolage under both Kyle Shanahan and then Kevin O'Connell, as well as being paired with future Hall of Fame candidate Justin Jefferson. So Sam Darnold was able to climb to the top of the QB market board, and he cashed in with a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. We've also seen Geno Smith get traded to the Raiders. Justin Fields inked a 2-year, $40 million deal with the Jets, and Kenny Pickett was traded to the Cleveland Browns. So really your first wave... Oh, Zach Wilson signed with the Miami Dolphins. Your first wave of players, especially out of the QB class of this free agent group, has kind of been plucked through, and now we're seeing guys, the Aaron Rodgers, the Russ Wilsons, maybe even a Kirk Cousins per se, be shopped around a little bit and see where they could land and what their role might be with a franchise moving forward. I would see Aaron Rodgers going probably, I see a lot of Pittsburgh noise. I see, maybe some Indianapolis noise, but I don't envy anyone who wants to take on that mess. And I honestly don't feel so great for Aaron Rodgers as much as I dislike the guy for being a longtime Packer and all the heartbreak that he put me through as a Lions fan. It's, you want to go out with a bang, not a whimper. So he unfortunately couldn't go out on top and is having to limp his way across the finish line. So the NFL's league year has nearly arrived. Starting at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, that is 6 hours from now, 5 hours and 41 minutes. Teams have already been allowed to negotiate with representatives of free agents as part of legal tampering window, and many of the players have already reached agreements on contracts. Aaron Rodgers, however, is still available. After the New York Jets officially waived him, he might be looking at Steelers or bust when it comes to starting for a playoff contender in 2025. Daniel Jones is off the board, as the former Giants' first-round pick is reportedly signing a 1-year, $14 million deal with the Colts. See, and that's something right there. See that deal, that 1-year, $14 million deal for Daniel Jones? That is the difference between Sam Darnold having the career or the season that he had last season in Minnesota, and Sam Darnold having a Daniel Jones type season where he was cut midway through, signed to a practice squad, and now look, $14 million is nothing to snuff at, right? You figure there's probably like $7 to $9 million of that guaranteed, plus incentives. And he's going to a spot where he will be able to compete against Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has yet to really show us that he could be that guy. And, I'm a big enough man to eat some crow. I kind of thought Anthony Richardson was going to be a superstar. I thought he was going to ascend to a higher summit than anyone else in that quarterback draft class. C.J. Stroud, the Keebler elf down in Carolina, Will Levis, the Mayo man. But the season that Sam Darnold had last year, he was able to bag that 3-year, $100.5 million deal, and as opposed to Daniel Jones, who gets a 1-year, $14 million deal. Do you see the contrast that I'm talking about here? So I guess that kind of removes the Colts from Aaron Rodgers' potential landing spots. Nook Hopkins struck a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. It's a solid spot for him to land at, and the Ravens continue to do this thing where I guess the question is it the Ravens organization that doesn't like to have that solid top tier 1A wide receiver, top 16 in the NFL? I realize that there's only 32 teams in the league, but you figure half of those teams are going to have better talent at certain positions. You're going to want to have a top flight wide receiver. And the Ravens, unfortunately, Zay Flowers is good in spots. Nook Hopkins is well over the hill, unfortunately. And Lamar Jackson, just as talented as he is, does his style of play and what the Ravens try and do as an organization under Jim Harbaugh, do they really need a top flight wide receiver? So with Nook Hopkins landing there, yeah, he could compete with Zay Flowers for the 1 spot. Zay Flowers is obviously going to be the number 1, although probably wouldn't be a number 1 on every team. But Nook Hopkins can come in and contribute. You see a solid, 50 to 85 catches, possibly. Maybe he expands more as their big body threat if Isaiah Likely doesn't really continue to develop the way he has been. Maybe he hits a roadblock. Injuries could tail him down, and then you could see Nook Hopkins ascend to that bigger red zone threat type deal. I like this landing spot for Nook Hopkins. I think it's a solid place with a better chance to get a ring. Now, granted, he did play for the Chiefs last year in a midseason trade, but originally to start last season, he was in Tennessee. So this Baltimore spot gives him a initial leg up at a chase. Now, you probably would think the signing with the Kansas City Chiefs would have been his best option, considering they are time and time again over the last 3, 4, 5 years the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. But in my opinion, I think Kansas City is now. I'm not saying that the window is shut. I just think that with the runs that they've had over the past few years, that this season the window is very, very small, right? You're going to need to retool, revamp, recondition the organization. We did see some news break that Patrick Mahomes has restructured his contract, which allows for a little bit more breathing room in Kansas City. You think that they might want to go after a wide receiver, considering the legal problems that they're both the 2023. Who was that wide receiver that they took? Rashee Rice. He got into some legal trouble and then injured. And then also the kid from Texas Xavier Worthy. He also just got into some legal trouble for beating on his girlfriend. So you would think Nook Hopkins would maybe consider staying in Kansas City. He could even be slotted in at the number 1 wide receiver spot, for all we know. And knowing the talent that Patrick Mahomes has, he can elevate some of the players around him. But maybe Nook Hopkins sees a turning of the tide and that the NFL has turned its back on Kansas City, and unfortunately Patrick Mahomes is no longer the golden boy chosen one, as the NFL is starting to see that the internet remains undefeated in everything that they do. The internet last season really poked holes in the Kansas City narrative. really showcasing their deficiencies and where potentially the league was floating them along. Joey Bosa reached a one-year deal with the Bills on Tuesday night. That kind of sucks. I was hoping Joey Bosa was going to could potentially come to Detroit. The money, though, there is going to be quite a bit, and he can chase a ring in Buffalo. Talk about putting the Bosa brothers on opposite ends of the United States. The Bosa family is going to be busy trying to keep tabs on their sons with Nick Bosa playing in, San Francisco. Not really San Francisco, but playing for the Niners. And then you fly all the way to the East Coast to the as polar opposite as you can get from sunny California to frigid Buffalo, New York. But Joey Bosa going to go and try and chase a ring and add his pass rush specialties and NFL, at one point elite pedigree to the Buffalo Bills. Hopefully that might be able to get them over the hump as we see, like I just got done saying, potentially Kansas City slipping up this year as many year runs start to catch up to them. This could be Buffalo or Baltimore's year to really slip in there and take advantage. The Buffalo's all in. They went out and they grabbed Josh Palmer. They re-signed Josh Allen to just a mega deal. And props to him. He deserves every penny of it. And then we've seen them also now try and revamp their defense a little bit, adding another pass rusher to their arsenal. I do kind of like this move by the Bills, although salty as a Lions fan that he hasn't come into the Motor City. Monday was a busy day for quarterback movement, blah, blah, blah. Sam Darnold, we've talked about that. Justin Fields, we talked about that. Oh, and the Browns. We talked about that yesterday, but the Browns acquired Kenny Pickett from the Eagles for Dorian Thompson-Robinson in a fifth-round pick. I did say that I actually kind of like the DTR landing spot in Philly as his skill set matches Jalen Hurts' a lot more than Kenny Pickett. The story of Kenny Pickett, though, is kind of odd. I mean, he played at Pitt, and Pitt plays at Heinz Field. And he was then drafted by the Steelers. So the hometown hero couldn't make it land, and now he not only went from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, so at least he stayed kind of local, but now he's straight up in a divisional rival of the Pittsburgh Steelers, going down to Cleveland to play with the richest defensive end in the NFL, Myles Garrett, right? So, excuse me. Dolphins re-signed linebacker Terrell Dodson to a 2-year deal. Wow. 2-year, $8.25 million deal. You compare that to the contract that Derek Barnes just signed. Larry Ogunjobi signs a 1-year, $8.5 million deal. Mahomes restructures his contract. The AFC champions restructured the deal of their star Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes to create nearly $50 million in salary cap space. Wow. A Mahomes restructure seemed inevitable as soon as the season ended. The malleable 10-year, $450 million deal he signed ahead of the 2020 season has already been redone multiple times, both to give Mahomes a raise and guaranteed money to clear salary cap for the team. Mahomes is set to have a cap charge of over $66 million in 2025. Dallas, you need to go ahead and just take note about what's going on here. Chris Jones signed a 5-year deal worth $95 million guaranteed over the first 3 years before the 2024 season. His cap number is going to be $34 million in 25. The Chiefs have been fairly busy in free agency, signing former 49ers OT Jalen Moore, ex-Chargers cornerback Christian Fulton, and re-signing Nick Bolton and wide receiver Hollywood Brown. The Chiefs also franchised Trey Smith in hopes of a long-term deal. Smith has already signed a $23 million franchise tender. So the Chiefs trying to do what they can to get under the cap again. Teams like Dallas, teams like New Orleans, you're gonna have to take note. Look at what the good teams do. They spend money on their players. Look at what the Chiefs are doing, what the Lions are doing. Look at what the Patriots and the Colts did in the early aughts, right? Signed their superstar quarterbacks to, at the time, insane deals. But then every year they restructured that deal so that there was the availability and the money to go out and get players to fill spots where there were deficiencies so you can continue to have your championship run. We talked about Joey Bosa, Demarcus Robinson as a turd, Cowboys, I don't care about your punter, Titans keeping Xavier Woods. Oh, right. This is all pretty much just a, hey, Jacoby Brissett. I like to call him Jacoby Brisket. He just signed with the Cardinals. I'm going to go back up the midget Kyler Murray. So that is our news from around the NFL. A little bit of free agency signing and signing going around, and we will update you guys all come Monday morning of next week on the rest of the NFL free agency. But now we want to kick it over. Now we want to go ahead and kick it over to Detroit's big free agency signing yesterday, and can kind of let you know exactly what our plan is in the draft. Go ahead and remove most defensive tackles from our draft board on day one, maybe even day two. Look for a rounds 4 through 7 to be some target spots for the Lions to maybe go after some bigs to fill out. And with this signing of Roy Lopez to a 1-year contract from the Arizona Cardinals, Roy Lopez, a significant investment in the run game, grading the Detroit Lions free agent addition of nose tackle Roy Lopez, it is probably guaranteed that we are not going to be. Whoopsie. Stop. Nope. Stop. Stop. It is pretty much a guarantee then that Levi Onwuzurike will probably be parted ways with. You don't go out and you sign a guy like Roy Lopez even to a 1-year deal with the anticipation of investing into Levi Onwuzurike when he can go get his bag elsewhere, right? And let another team take on that headache. Roy Lopez is a proven asset in the league. Hasn't missed nearly as much time as Levi Onwuzurike, and he grades out pretty well as a run defender. This is coming to us from Pride of Detroit. Late on Tuesday night, the Detroit Lions reportedly agreed to terms with former Cardinals nose tackle Roy Lopez. It's Detroit's first investment this free agency in an external defensive lineman. One of hopefully many. While it certainly isn't the flashiest addition, let's break down Lopez's fit, role, and value. Roy Lopez's fit with the team. It is clear Lopez is exactly the kind of player Dan Campbell loves on his team. Fans and reporters have called him relentless, badass, a locker room guy. That's my type of dude right there. Perhaps most notably, Cardinals head coach Jonathan Gannon gave him one of the bigger compliments a player can receive. Quote, if you had 90 Roys, he'd be ready to go. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, actually, here we go. I got it right here. Boom. Let's go ahead and play this clip, huh?
If you had 90 Roys, you'd be good to go. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying we got a lot of good guys, but Roy, he keeps a good attitude. He's always working on his game. He's team first. He's willing to do whatever you tell him to do. He's got a smile on his face. Like he's a phenomenal human being.
Dan Campbell guy,
and he enjoys coming to work, and he gets better at his game.
Team first.
Yeah, I'd love a bunch of Roys.
Relentless, shows up to work to do his job. Yeah, dude. He enjoys coming to work. That's the type of guy I'm after. As for his style of play, he's a run-first nose tackle. While he finished 99th out of 153 defensive tackles when it came to PFF's run-stopping percentage, his score, 5.4%, was higher than Benito Jones, 5.3, and DJ Reader at 5.1. There also may be little more pass rush upside than we've seen from Detroit's depth at defensive tackle. It's certainly not his specialty, but he did produce 67.4 pass rush grade last year, including 18 pressures, 1 sack, forced fumble, and 3 quarterback hits. Those numbers don't sound impressive, and they're not that impressive until you look at what his role was in the Arizona Cardinals defense and what his role is going to be in the Detroit Lions defense. It is run first. I've said it time and time again. Our big bodies in the middle, and then that bookend defensive end that I like to talk about, are there to allow the pocket to be collapsed into them by the rush edge Aiden Hutchinson, as well as to eat up bodies to keep guys off of my linebackers so that Action Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes can run free and make plays at or behind the line of scrimmage, right? A good run. Stopping the run is the most important thing you can do on defense. It is fundamentally the first thing you need to do is force a team to become one-dimensional. And unfortunately, we have seen that with Detroit over the last few years, where we, yes, are a great run-stopping defense, and then we get gashed in the back end, right? But, investments at corner. First and second round picks last year at corner. DJ Reed at corner. Investments. We have two of the best safeties in the entire NFL, right? Our back end is getting better. And if we can continue to bottle up the run and force teams to be one-dimensional, eventually our secondary will get there. And you guys have heard me say it from time and 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 time again. Sorry, I got a little repetitive there. A guy like Aiden Hutchinson makes your secondary look better because a dominant pass rush will make up for deficiencies on the back end. A fit grade for Roy Lopez, according to Pride of Detroit, is an A-. As for now, Lopez is Detroit's third nose tackle on the team with DJ Reader and Brodric Martin, given the first reported details of the contract, $4.75 million for 1 year. At the very least, Lopez is going to be a second-string nose tackle. There are two big questions now with this position. One, is DJ Reader now potentially cap casualty? Reader is set to count for $12.9 million against the cap, including a $4 million roster bonus due on March 15th. That's 3 days from now. If Detroit, damn, that, how awesome that would be. See, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If on Saturday you had a pending transaction in your bank account for $4 million just for being employed, right? Man, I'd like a $4 bonus just for being employed, just deposited in my bank account. If Detroit opts to cut him before then, they'll save nearly $8 million in cap space while eating just under $5 million in dead cap. That's significant savings, but it's fair to wonder if Detroit wants to rely on Lopez as their number one nose tackle. He started a whopping 50 games over 4 seasons, including 16 games last year, so the workload would not be an issue. It's just a matter of whether the Lions believe he's good enough to be a starter. And while I'm just scratching the surface of his tape, I'd be surprised if the Lions expect him to be the full-time starter. He is a role player, right, to use a basketball term, and our defense thrives on role players, right? Last year we ended up coming up a little bit short because the role players were forced into starter positions when some of them never had the pedigree to be a starter. But they would flourish and thrive as a rotationary role player, do what you do and do it well. But we were asking guys to do things that they don't do well and asking them to do it well. Second question, is it time to give up on Brodric Martin? Last year we did see a transformation of Brodric Martin, but unfortunately, although he did physically reshape and sculpt his body into a more slimmer, muscular version of himself, he still couldn't stay healthy and get on the field, and when he was on the field, he wasn't necessarily that productive. The Lions spent a 2023 third-round pick on Martin to play nose tackle, but the small school defender has spent his first 2 years mainly as a healthy scratch. He's played in just 53 defensive snaps despite no major injuries. If the Lions don't end up cutting Reader, it's hard to interpret Lopez's signing as anything other than a significant lack of faith in Martin. If Reader is cut, then Martin may still have some believers among the staff. It's worth pointing out the Lions valued their backup nose tackles in the past. Last year, it was Kyle Peko holding down that role. While he was playing time dipped to 10 to 20 snaps a game after Reader was healthy, the team insisted when Peko suffered a season-ending injury, it was a major loss. And it really was. He was playing a lot of good snaps while DJ Reader, and in absence of a DJ Reader, right? It was a huge loss, Aaron Glenn said. I actually talked to him this morning. This was back when he got hurt. If Lopez's role is to be a backup, it's definitely an upgrade to get a player with so much experience and shown durability. If he's going to be a starter and Detroit expects to move on from Reader, it'll be a downgrade. Role talent grade would be a B. The Lions are getting good value in Lopez. First of all, we don't have any contract details other than the overall value of the contract. 1 year, $4.75 million. With no words on guarantees, it's nearly impossible to give a fully educated appraisal of his value. So that is 2 guys between him and Marcus Davenport. 2 guys, rotationary players, less than $10 million. Some of us aren't necessarily still pleased about the Zadarius Smith release, but I've said it a few times now. Brad Holmes has to make future financial decisions, and he has to make them now. He has to structure the team so that he can go out and make sure that Aiden Hutchinson resets the fucking market for defensive ends in a year. We have to re-sign Kirby Joseph. We have to start allocating assets to re-sign and extend Jahmyr Gibbs. All these contracts are going to start coming up, right? It's also hard to judge what it looks like, what his projected role is if he's going to be a Reader's backup. It does look like an overpay. They already have $13 million committed to a nose tackle position, so another $2 to $4 million, depending on the actual deal details on a guy who will play a dozen snaps a game does not seem like a particularly good value considering the contract of teams of previous rotationary nose tackles. That's right, Benito Jones, Kyle Payco, and of course, Isaiah Buggs before he went off the deep end. Obviously, with the cap going up, there's going to be some inflation. Still, the deal is potentially triple to quadruple what the Lions spent on the reserve position last year. That's true. That is true. Overall, Lopez will fit in line with the Lions' culture. Detroit likely to prioritize their run defense on that level. It makes sense for them to invest in a nose tackle, even if it's just depth. So, my best guess is that he'll serve as a backup to Reader in 25, and if that's the case, it's a slight overinvestment. I get the desire to be deep at the position given Reader's age and the general depth issues Detroit had on the defensive line last year. How much better will he be in the run defense actually be with Lopez over a guy like Payco, Jones, or Buggs? Well, Buggs is a fucking turd. Isaiah Buggs is a turd. Benito Jones plays in Miami, and Kyle Payco suffered a season-ending injury. So what we're doing here is yes, you might overpay a little bit, but the insurance is there now, right? Wouldn't you rather be Boy Scout ready? Wouldn't you rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it, right? We don't want to run into a situation like we were last year. We're caught with our pants down around our ankles and no depth, right? So I like the Roy Lopez signing, and I think that this, again, kind of signals what we're planning on doing in the draft. We're probably not going to go defensive tackle in the first 2, even 3 rounds. Maybe push it back a little bit, rounds 4 and 5. And unfortunately, Brad Holmes has now drafted 3 defensive tackles, and he's only had 1 work out. And unfortunately, he suffered a season-ending knee injury last year, so he's 33.3% success rate on hitting on defensive tackles in the mid-rounds, right? So not necessarily the type of percentage that you want to see, especially when all of our first-rounders have been home runs. But give the guy some credit. Let him dig some. Let him go mining. Find some guys. Maybe find a reserve role player. I'd like to roll in with 4 solid defensive tackles. Right, Roy Lopez is going to obviously fill into that 3rd spot, and this gives us another big body like DJ Reader to eat right in the middle. This should free up Aleem McNeil to continue to excel as a pass rushing defensive tackle. So. That was Roy Lopez. That was our big signing day 2 of free agency. So 2 solid investments on defense, both in the defensive line front and then also DJ Reed in the secondary. So found some players that can help plug some holes and hopefully elevate the entire defense so that we can get over that hump. That hump being getting over and through the NFC Championship game, as well as staying healthy. That will be the killer to our season again, just like it was last year. Even though we did continue to plug along and won the division, injuries just ended up being our Achilles heel. So that was our big free agent signing yesterday. Let's go ahead and take a little look here at the best free agents still available for the Lions. We're going to go on over to SportsIllustrated.com. The Lions could target offensive line, and edge fits still available after 2 days of negotiation. Pardon me, fellas. Good old Christian Boer giving us another little article here. Look at Mekhi Becton. Got himself a Super Bowl ring after fizzling out and having a second career resurgence in Philadelphia, moving from tackle to offensive guard, and I didn't even realize that Mekhi Becton was going to be a free agent. Now, this Mekhi Becton guy, he's young. He's young in comparison to Graham Glasgow. He's young in comparison to Kevin Zeitler or even Brandon Sheriff. This guy could be our guard of the future next to Penne or Taylor Decker for the next 4 years. And he could play really well if he continues to play the way he did in Philadelphia. Let's go ahead and read the article. The Detroit Lions have been somewhat active early in 2025 offseason, acquiring a pair of external players throughout the days leading up to the official start of free agency. Yes, we know all this. All right, let's just go ahead and here are 10 available free agents Wednesday morning who could be good fits for the Lions. Offensive line, Mekhi Becton. Becton rejuvenated his career with a strong campaign for the Eagles last season, but remains available after the first 2 days of negotiations. It's worth wondering whether the market he desired simply hasn't materialized. If that's the case, coming to Detroit to provide stability on a short-term deal could be the ideal move for both sides. Kevin Zeitler's future is uncertain, as the team has yet to re-sign him, and Becton is a younger option who could continue to develop under the guidance of offensive line coach Hank Fraley, probably the best offensive line coach in the game. And also, there is that Philadelphia Eagles connection, because I'm pretty sure Hank Fraley played for the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure he played for the Eagles. So, moving inside the guard paid dividends for Becton, and his ability to maul defenders in the run game fits Detroit's physical style. Fits my style. I think I'm going to go ahead and put Mekhi Becton at the old tip-a-top of the hat and beard wish list there, because that's my guy right there. That's who I either want, him or Brandon Sheriff. But I'm just, it's an age thing, and it's it's a dollars thing, right? I can get more. I might have to pay a little bit more, but I can get more longer at a higher level, right? No slight to Sheriff, no slight to Zeitler, but it's a young man's game. Defensive tackle Calais Campbell, we've talked about him. He's a 38-year-old vet, and he's remained productive deep into his career. He had 5 sacks for Miami last year. He has a desire to pursue a Super Bowl ring, and the Detroit Lions window for championship is open. He would also bring leadership to the team that takes pride in finding players that fit its culture. I don't think that is a solid move. Tyler Lockett is one of the most productive wide receivers still on the board and could be a big weapon for Detroit's offense. Most of his production has come from the slot, which is a position that Amon-Ra currently handles for the Lions. However, St. Brown has the versatility to kick outside in the event the team were to add Lockett. Tyler Lockett would be a solid depth piece. I'd like a little bit bigger-bodied wide receiver. His production has dipped in recent years, with the 2024 season being his lowest amount of receiving yards since his second NFL season. However, he'd be worth a shot on a 1-year contract that would allow the Lions to see if they could maximize his talent at age 33 season. Defensive end, outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari. As the days go on, after you see the Derek Barnes re-signing and not necessarily going after an edge player, probably leaning more towards edge and draft. I don't see us trading for a pass rusher will be 25 years old when the next season begins in 11 games that has 6 sacks from the Giants. I understand him wanting to get out of there, but I just don't see it being necessarily the right move. Will Hernandez suffered a season-ending injury in 24, but should be ready to go for 25. He did not bring back. If you don't bring back Zeitler, Will Hernandez fits the mold of a veteran guard who can help place steady ship amongst the most talented defensive lines in the league. He's been in schemes across the league and should have little trouble adjusting to the Lions' style. He's a good run blocker and could play either guard spots in the Detroit's offensive line. So Will Hernandez, again, sliding back into that very same idea as comparing Sheriff to Becton. Becton's going to be a younger, more in the tank, right? So, again, all these guys, in my opinion, are falling short to the Mekhi Becton. Dennis Gardeck, outside linebacker, no need. Derek Nottie, defensive tackle, probably not going to happen. Defensive end Cleveland Farrell was a top 5 pick in 2019. He did not live up to that billing throughout his career. However, he found a way to provide modest production in the past 2 seasons. With 7 total sacks, could be an ideal low-risk investment. He had 3.5 sacks last season with the Commies, and working with Casey Rogers could help bring out the best of him leading into his age 28 season. At the very least, he could also provide competition for the potential young addition Detroit makes through the draft. Yeah, I'm not too wild about it, but if you can get a solid deal, very similar to Roy Lopez style, 1 year, prove it to me, $5 million deal. Do you have what it takes? Can you put it in the bag? Can you put the fries in the fucking bag, dude? Offensive line, Brandon Sheriff. We've talked about him a bunch. Fifth overall pick in 2015. He's played a lot of football at a high level. Mike Williams. I am not interested in Mike Williams at all. Other notables, Steph Diggs, not interested. Edge, Matthew Judon. This is an interesting little move right here. Judon has established a career, but his production tailed off noticeably in 24 after a trade to Atlanta. Judon produced 5.5 sacks in 17 games, entering his age 33 season. The dip in production is concerning. But, again, he still plays at a relatively high level. He's a hometown kid, and he went to Grand Valley State University. So he's from here, from Detroit. It'd be more of a culture move. Unfortunately, that veteran edge presence is kind of being eaten up by Marcus Davenport. And, we're already sitting at 3 defensive ends. You possibly look at drafting one and maybe even retaining one of the guys already in-house. Do you want to have 5 defensive ends? Yeah, you want to have 5, 6 heading into camp, but, if Matthew Judon wants to come in and compete, that's on him. If not, I'm not really going to, really miss out on anything with Matthew Judon. Jerome Baker, again, outside linebacker is not a position I'd see us going after because Derek Barnes re-signed. And then also, obviously, Rodrigo will be coming back healthy. Now, there is an argument of needing another body. Maybe he's that guy. And then, of course, the future Hall of Famer Von Miller, like Judon Miller, has had a noticeable dip in production, was released by the Bills. There's still potential that he could find a groove, most likely designated pass rusher rather than an every down player in the twilight of his career, more or less. Wouldn't be mad about it, but again, we're talking how much money do you want to spend on a one-trick pony? Our top priority should be going after Mekhi Becton right now. The more and more I think about it. Mekhi Becton has all of the upside of the veteran guards that we're pursuing. Man, I can't stop yawning. Sorry about that, boys. Who do we got here? Sorry if I missed this. Detroit Lions on SI. Hey, love it. I saw your video, John. Right on. Thank you, John. I don't know if I've ever engaged with you before, but thanks for stopping by, dude. No offense. I don't mean to sound like an ass. I don't recognize your handle. So hopefully you're still hanging out. And I can't really see the chat on my computer because I don't have a set up yet, which is kind of now that we're done with this article, let me just wrap up my final thoughts on Mekhi Becton. He should be our top priority, a big mauler who is developing and having a resurgence. Why not bring his talents to Detroit? So normally this is where we would do my better man subject part where I find what is going on. Where I find a little learny segment for us to, step away from the NFL pool and just kind of refresh our minds, enjoy something new and exciting, but I didn't find anything new and exciting that I thought you guys would like yet. So hopefully this weekend we can spend some time doing that. This is going to be our last upload for the week. Originally, I'd kind of planned on just doing a Monday through Wednesday. Hopefully you guys don't mind me getting a little personal here with you, a little chatty. But I'm kind of enjoying it, and I'm thinking that the 3-day uploads will only last for a little bit, and then we will probably, obviously by the start of the season, I want to go 5 days a week. What I'm thinking of doing is doing a 4-day-a-week show. What the fuck, dude? Oh, and in the next week or so here, I would like to maybe do a 4-day-a-week show, but it would be like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I want to take Thursdays off. Thursdays are my recovery days from the gym, and I just kind of like having that morning to spend with the dogs and just kind of not feel rushed and on a strict schedule. But then Fridays, I was thinking of doing a live stream because we're actually heading right into the UFL season. And I don't know if you guys remember from last year, but I really enjoyed watching the UFL. And maybe I was thinking of doing Fridays. Maybe we won't do a full hour show, but maybe we could talk a little bit about, obviously some NFL news, and then just kind of touch on the games coming up for the UFL. Maybe be a ambassador for them and try and get the word out there that although it's a spring league, it is still very entertaining sports to watch, or a very entertaining high level of sport to watch. And it scratches that itch that I know we're all fiending for right now with just, off season and draft news and not having any real ball to watch. It really scratches that itch for a few weeks of spring ball and kind of helps you get over the hump. It's like football Narcan. Or not Narcan. Not Narcan. Not Narcan. A football methadone. That's what it is. Methadone. That's the word I was looking for, is methadone. It's the UFL is football methadone. And I'm here for it. So maybe that's something we'll look to do in the future, is expanding into a 4-day-a-week show. And then obviously come the preseason, maybe even after the first, maybe even training camps, we're going to go 5 days a week, and I have no other choice but to go 5 days a week and just do hour-long shows. So hopefully you guys are here for it. We're going to spend the next couple days, and over the weekend I do have to work into the weekend. Only get the wonderful 1 day off this week, but we're going to look to develop the show's production into something more professional, right? I would like to have sliders, maybe clean up the image you guys are seeing here on screen, make everything kind of fit the blocks a little bit more, kind of just tighten everything up a little bit, make things a little bit just more polished of a presentation for y'all. Because if you look at it, we hit 622 subs yesterday, so we are just barreling towards 700. And once we hit 700, then it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to 1,000. After we're 1,000, we might as well just call it 10K subs. And if we're going to be at 10K subs, you might as well just send me the 1,000,000 subscriber plaque, because it'll be coming. It'll be coming. It's just a matter of time. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. I appreciate you guys popping in, hanging out, seeing what's going on. Feel free to go back and rewatch anything you missed out on. Obviously, the show's designed to be enjoyed both live and post-show. So go ahead and comment down below if you're watching this post-show. Share this video around with all your friends. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you never miss out on any content. Guys, I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the week. Enjoy the weekend. It's supposed to be like 70 degrees on Friday up here in mid-Michigan. So try and enjoy the weekend, and we will catch up with all you guys Monday morning, 10 a.m. from 10 to 11 a.m. Monday through at least Wednesday for now, here at youtube.com/The Hat and Beard Show. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Bonga bonga.